I'm standing in our kitchen, watching Marcus pour coffee with that easy smile I fell in love with 8 years ago. The morning light catches his wedding ring, and my heart does that familiar flutter. We're solid. Everyone says so, the couple that makes marriage look effortless. But lately something feels off. Marcus's phone keeps buzzing with texts he quickly dismisses. His sister Diane visits more often, always with that tight smile that doesn't reach her eyes. And his mother, Helen. She's been dropping hints about communication issues I apparently don't see. I shake off the unease. We're fine. We have to be. Tonight, we're celebrating our 8th anniversary at Bellissimo, the Italian place where Marcus proposed. I've planned everything perfectly. New dress, reservations, even arranged for my best friend Tessa to watch our daughter Emma overnight. As Marcus heads to work, he kisses my forehead. "Love you," he murmurs. I hold on to those words like a lifeline, not knowing they'll be tested sooner than I think. The first rail crack appears 3 days before our anniversary. I'm picking up Marcus's dry cleaning when I overhear 2 women talking near the register. "Did you hear about the Hendersons? Apparently, the wife is completely controlling. Won't let him see his own family without permission." My ears prick up. Henderson is Marcus's last name. I freeze, pretending to examine a receipt. "I heard she's isolating him," the other woman continues. "His poor mother is devastated. And that sister of his barely gets to see her own brother anymore." My hands shake as I gather the clothes. That's not true. None of it. Marcus sees his family constantly. Maybe too much. Diane was just here last Tuesday, unannounced as usual. Helen calls every other day. Where is this narrative coming from? I drive home in a daze, the whispers following me like shadows. When I try telling Marcus that evening, he's distracted, scrolling through his phone. "Honey, people were talking." "About what?" he asks absently. I hesitate, suddenly feeling foolish. "Never mind." The night before our anniversary, Diane shows up at our door holding a casserole. "Thought you could use a home-cooked meal," she says, brushing past me. Her eyes scan our living room like she's cataloging evidence. Marcus hugs her warmly, and they disappear into the kitchen while I'm left standing in the hallway. I hear their low voices, Diane's concerned tone, Marcus's reassuring responses. When I join them, the conversation stops abruptly. "Everything okay?" I ask, forcing brightness into my voice. Diane's smile is all teeth. "Just catching up with my brother. We barely get to talk anymore." The implication stings. I want to defend myself, to list every dinner invitation, every family gathering we've attended. Instead, I bite my tongue. After Diane leaves, Marcus seems distant. "She's worried about us," he finally says. "Worried? Why?" Shrugs. "She thinks we're not communicating well." I stare at him, confused. "Did you tell her we're fine?" His pause is enough. Anniversary morning arrives with unexpected tension. Marcus seems preoccupied during breakfast, barely touching his eggs. Emma, our 6-year-old, chatters about her upcoming school play, but even she notices something's wrong. "Daddy, why are you sad?" she asks. He forces a smile. "Just tired, princess." But I know better. After dropping Emma at school, I found a text on my phone from an unknown number. "Ask your husband about the trust fund." My blood runs cold. What trust fund? Marcus never mentioned any inheritance or family money. I forward the text to Tessa, my hands trembling. She calls immediately. "This is weird, Maya. Really weird." I agree, but I can't shake the feeling that something bigger is happening, something carefully orchestrated. The pieces don't fit yet, but they're starting to form a picture I don't like. Tonight's dinner suddenly feels less like a celebration and more like a test. Bellissimo is packed with Friday night crowds. Marcus and I sit across from each other, expensive wine glasses between us creating a barrier. He's been checking his phone repeatedly, and my patience is wearing thin. "Can you put that away?" finally ask. He looks up, startled. "Sorry." Mom's texting about something urgent. Course she is. Helen has impeccable timing for family emergencies that always require Marcus's immediate attention. I take a breath, deciding to address the elephant at the table. Marcus, are you happy with us? His eyes widened. What kind of question is that? An honest one. Your family seems to think I'm some kind of controlling wife. Random people are talking about us. Someone texted me about a trust fund I know nothing about. I watch his face carefully. He shifts uncomfortably, glancing away. There's been some family discussion about money, but it's complicated. Complicated how? Before he can answer, his phone rings. Then, he hesitates, then answers. The conversation is brief but telling. Marcus hangs up looking pale. We need to go. Diane's at the hospital. My anniversary dinner lies abandoned as we rush through rain-slicked streets. At the hospital, we find Diane sitting calmly in the waiting room, perfectly healthy. False alarm, she announces with a sheepish smile that doesn't match the calculation in her eyes. I thought I was having chest pains, but it's just anxiety. I want to scream. This was a setup, I know it in my bones. But Marcus is all concerned, sitting beside his sister, rubbing her back. Helen appears from nowhere, wrapping her arms around Diane dramatically. My poor baby. This stress isn't good for you. Her eyes cut to me meaningfully. Family stress. There it is. The accusation hangs in the antiseptic air. I'm the source of Diane's stress, apparently. I'm the reason for the mysterious anxiety attacks and family tensions. Marcus doesn't defend me. He doesn't say anything at all. Standing there in my anniversary dress, I realize I'm watching a performance, and I'm the villain. We drive home in silence, the ruined evening sitting between us like a third passenger. Emma's already asleep at Tessa's house, giving us space that now feels oppressive. Marcus heads straight for the bedroom, but I'm too wired to sleep. I open my laptop and start digging. The trust fund text gnaws at me. After an hour of searching public records and old family documents Marcus keeps in his office, I find it. A trust established by Marcus's grandfather, worth nearly $2 million. It's set to be divided between Marcus and Diane when they each turn 35. Marcus turned 35 last month. The trust documents outline clear conditions. The money goes only to family members in stable, long-term marriages. There's a provision allowing other family members to contest the distribution if they believe the marriage is troubled or coercive. Everything clicks into place. Helen and Diane aren't just being difficult. They're trying to break up my marriage to control the money. I confronted Marcus the next morning with printouts of the trust documents. He looks at them, then at me, guilt written across his face. I was going to tell you. When? After your family successfully convinced you I'm some manipulative monster. My voice shakes with anger and hurt. He runs his hands through his hair. It's not like that. Mom and Diane are just concerned. They think we rushed into marriage, that maybe we're not compatible. We've been married 8 years, Marcus. We have a daughter. What exactly did we rush? He can't meet my eyes. Money complicates things. Diane needs her share. She's struggling financially, and if my marriage is deemed unstable, the trustees might redistribute everything to her. There it is. The ugly truth. So your family is actively trying to sabotage our marriage for money. He doesn't deny it. Instead, he says quietly, they're just looking out for me. Those words hurt worse than any of Diane's schemes or Helen's manipulation. Tessa comes over that afternoon with wine and righteous anger. He actually defended them. She's pacing my living room while I sit numbly on the couch. Not defended exactly. More like, understood their position. She stops, staring at me. Maya, you need to fight back. This is your marriage, your family, your life they're trying to destroy. I know she's right, but I'm exhausted. How do I fight people who've spent months building a narrative that I'm the problem? Tessa grins, that sharp, clever expression that means she's hatching a plan. We build a better narrative. We document everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every setup. She pulls out her phone. Starting with Diane's fake hospital emergency last night. I did some digging. She checked herself out within 30 minutes. Her chest pains were miraculously cured the moment she disrupted your anniversary. I sit up straighter, hope flickering. You think we can prove they're lying? Honey, I think we can prove they're orchestrating a whole campaign. We just need evidence. Over the next week, Tessa and I become investigators. I start documenting everything. Dates, times, conversations. I record Helen's phone calls using a legal app, capturing her subtle digs about my controlling nature, and questions about whether Marcus seems happy. I save every text, screenshot every social media post. Diane's been busy online, posting vague status updates about toxic family members, and protecting the ones you love. Her friends comment with sympathetic emojis, not knowing the real story. I also discovered something interesting. Diane's been meeting regularly with a man named Gerald Thornton, a lawyer specializing in trust disputes. Tessa finds their coffee meetings documented on Diane's Instagram stories. She's not even being subtle. I showed Marcus the evidence one evening. He looks at the screenshots, the timeline, the lawyer's information. This doesn't prove anything, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. It proves they're actively planning something. Marcus, wake up. This isn't about concern. It's about money. The breaking point comes 2 weeks later at Helen's birthday dinner. I'm determined to be the perfect daughter-in-law, bringing homemade cake and gifts. Emma's excited to see her grandmother, wearing the dress Helen bought her last Christmas. But the moment we walk in, the temperature drops. Helen greets Emma warmly, then barely acknowledges me. Oh, you came. Marcus shoots his mother a look, but says nothing. Diane's there with her new boyfriend, a corporate attorney named Richard. They're cozy on the couch, whispering and glancing my way. During dinner, Helen starts her campaign. Marcus, darling, you look thin. Is Maya feeding you properly? Before I can respond, she continues. You know, your father and I always ate dinner together every night. Communication over meals is so important. The implication is clear. I'm failing as a wife. Diane chimes in. Richard was just saying how important family time is. Some people don't understand that. I set down my fork carefully, smiling frozen. Actually, we have dinner together every night. Helen waves dismissively. But you work such long hours, dear. Marcus mentioned you're barely home before 8. That's a lie. I'm a graphic designer who works from home, keeping flexible hours specifically to be available for Emma and Marcus. I'm about to correct her when Marcus says, Mom's right. You have been busy lately. I stare at my husband, betrayed. He knows my schedule. He knows I'm home every afternoon when Emma gets off the school bus, that I cook dinner most nights, that I've rearranged my entire life around our family. Tessa was right, I need to fight back. Helen, I say clearly, I work from home. I'm available 24/7 for my family. In fact, I've been the one arranging most of our family gatherings, including tonight. Dan laughs. That's funny. Mom always tells me she has to beg you to bring Marcus around. That's not true. My voice is steady despite my racing heart. We've been here 6 times in the last 2 months. The table goes silent. After that dinner, Marcus and I have our biggest fight yet. Emma's asleep upstairs, and we're in the kitchen with voices raised. You embarrassed my mother, he accuses. I stated facts. Your family is rewriting history, and you're letting them. He slams his hand on the counter. They're not rewriting anything. Maybe you don't realize how your behavior comes across. My behavior? Marcus, they're lying about me. They're trying to destroy our marriage so Diane can get your trust fund money. He goes very still. That's paranoid, Maya. I pull out my phone, showing him the compiled evidence Tessa and I gathered, the meetings with the trust attorney, the timeline of escalating accusations, the correlation between trust milestones and family drama. Is it? Look at the facts. He scrolls through, his face hardening. You've been spying on my family. I've been protecting my marriage. He throws the phone on the counter. By investigating my sister. By recording my mother's calls. What's next, Maya? Are you going to hire a private investigator? As it turns out, I don't need to hire anyone. The truth finds its own way out. 3 days after our fight, I received an envelope at our door. No return address, just my name typed on the front. Inside is a legal document, a petition filed by Diane and Helen to the trust administrators, claiming Marcus's marriage is coercive and unstable, requesting an investigation into our relationship, and asking for the trust funds to be frozen pending review. There are attached affidavits from family friends, all painting me as controlling, manipulative, and isolating. It's a character assassination in legal form. My hands shake as I read testimonials from people I've met maybe twice, describing incidents that never happened. One claims I refused to let Marcus attend his father's funeral. His father is alive. Another says I monitor all his communications. I don't even know his email password. The most damaging affidavit comes from Helen herself, detailing years of supposed abuse and control, painting Marcus as a victim who doesn't recognize his own imprisonment. I photograph every page and send them to Tessa, then to my own lawyer. Yes, I'd already retained one just in case. My attorney, Patricia Morrison, calls within the hour. This is defamation, Maya. Clear and actionable. I'm crying now, the weight of everything crashing down. Can they actually freeze the trust? They can try. But these affidavits are full of provably false statements. We can fight this. Patricia's voice is strong, grounding. However, you need to tell Marcus. Now. I dread that conversation more than anything. When Marcus gets home from work, I hand him the envelope without a word. I watch his face change as he reads. Confusion, shock, anger. This can't be real. It's filed with the court. Check the docket number. He calls Diane immediately. I hear her voice through the phone, shrill and defensive. We're trying to help you, Marcus. We love you. He hangs up and looks at me with something I've never seen before. Doubt. Not in his family, but in his entire reality. That night, Marcus sleeps in the guest room. Emma asks why Daddy's not at breakfast, and I don't have a good answer. I keep my voice cheerful, but inside I'm breaking. Tessa arrives with coffee and determination. Patricia called me. She wants to move fast. File a countersuit for defamation and emotional distress. Hesitate. That means going to war with Marcus's family. Maya, they already declared war. You're just fighting back. She's right, but it feels like I'm choosing between my marriage and my dignity. Can I have both? Marcus emerges from his room looking haggard. Tessa tactfully exits, leaving us alone. I called the trust administrator, he says quietly. They confirmed the petition is real. They're opening an investigation. My heart sinks. And they want to interview both of us. Separately. He sits heavily at the table. Maya, if this investigation determines our marriage is problematic, I lose everything. Not just the money. Diane gets it all, plus I'm essentially declared unfit to manage my own life. Understanding dawns. So even if we're fine, if your family convinces the trustees that I'm controlling you, we both lose. He nods miserably. My grandfather designed the trust this way to prevent fortune hunters and bad marriages. He never imagined family members would weaponize it. I sit beside him, taking his hand. Marcus, I need you to be honest. Do you think our marriage is troubled? He's quiet for a long moment. I think we're under attack. I think my family has been poisoning my mind for months, and I was too blind to see it. Relief floods through me. So you believe me? I'm starting to. It's not everything I want to hear, but it's a start. Over the next few days, Marcus and I go through everything together. My documentation, the timeline, the evidence of manipulation. I watch him grapple with the reality that his mother and sister have orchestrated this betrayal. Why would they do this? He keeps asking. The answer is always the same. money and control. Our counteroffensive begins with Patricia filing a defamation lawsuit against Helen and Diane. The documents are brutal, laying out every false statement, every provable lie. We attach our own evidence: text messages, emails, recorded phone calls, legally obtained, financial records showing Diane's debt, and documentation of her meetings with a trust attorney going back 6 months, long before any marital issues supposedly existed. Patricia also files a motion to dismiss the trust petition, arguing it was made in bad faith. The trustee agrees to pause the investigation pending resolution of the defamation case. It's a small victory, but we'll take it. The legal papers are served to Helen and Diane on a Tuesday afternoon. According to Marcus, who reluctantly calls to check on them, they're shocked and devastated. Diane cries that she was only trying to help. Helen claims she's being persecuted for loving her son. Neither addresses the actual lies in their affidavits. Marcus listens to their deflections and finally says something I've waited months to hear. "No, you don't get to play victim. You lied about my wife, about my marriage, about my life." That ends now. The community response is unexpected. Remember those whispers I heard at the dry cleaners? They've evolved into different conversations. People are talking about the lawsuit, the false affidavits, the money grab. Suddenly, I'm not the controlling wife. I'm the woman defending her family against manipulation. It's vindicating but exhausting. At Emma's school pickup, other mothers approach with apologies. "I'm so sorry, I heard things and I didn't question them." I accept their regrets gracefully, though part of me wonders why nobody questioned the narrative before. Tessa says it's human nature. People love drama until they see the receipts. Helen and Diane aren't handling the exposure well. Helen posts a long Facebook rant about ungrateful children and gold diggers, not naming me directly but clear enough. It backfires spectacularly. Her friends comment with concern, but not for her, for Marcus and me. "This seems unhealthy, Helen. Maybe you should focus on supporting your son's marriage, not attacking it." Diane deletes her social media entirely after someone comments on an old post. "Is this about that trust fund lawsuit?" Yikes. The trust investigation interviews happen in a sterile conference room downtown. I go first, accompanied by Patricia. The trustee, a stern woman named Ms. Chandler, asks pointed questions about our marriage, my relationship with Marcus's family, and the accusations against me. I answer everything honestly, providing documentation for every claim. When she asks about monitoring Marcus's communications, I pull out his own statement confirming I've never had access to his passwords or controlled his phone. When she asks about isolating him from family, I show her a calendar with every family visit, every dinner, every holiday we've attended together over the past 2 years. "This shows significant family interaction," Ms. Chandler observes. Exactly. The isolation narrative is fiction. Marcus's interview happens the next day. He tells me afterward that he was direct. "Our marriage has challenges like any long-term relationship, but nothing resembling the affidavit's descriptions." He also revealed something that surprised me. I told her about the evidence we found. Diane's meetings with the attorney, the timeline, everything. A week later, we received Ms. Chandler's preliminary report. She's recommending dismissal of the petition based on insufficient evidence of marital instability and concerning indications of bad faith filing by petitioners. It's not final, there's still a formal hearing, but it's promising. More importantly, she's flagged Helen and Diane's actions for possible investigation into trust interference. If proven, they could be barred from any future claims on Marcus's share. Marcus and I celebrated quietly that night after putting Emma to bed. "I'm sorry," he says for the 100th time. "I should have seen it sooner." I cup his face. "They're your family. You wanted to believe the best of them. They almost destroyed us." His voice breaks. "They almost cost me you and Emma for money I don't even care about." Kiss him softly. "Almost isn't the same as it was. We're still here. But there's still the defamation case to resolve." Patricia believes we have an overwhelming case, but trials are unpredictable. Helen and Diane hire their own attorney, Gerald Thornton, the trust specialist. The defamation trial becomes a spectacle in our small community. Patricia presents our evidence methodically. The false affidavits, the contradicted claims, the timeline of escalating lies. She calls witnesses, friends who can testify to our healthy marriage, Emma's teacher who confirms I'm an involved parent, Marcus's co-workers who've never seen signs of control or isolation. When Helen takes the stand, she's combative. I know what I saw, she insists. My son changed after marrying her. He became distant. Patricia approaches with copies of phone records. Mrs. Henderson, these show your son called you an average of 4 times per week over the past year. Does that seem distant? Helen falters. Well, the quality of our conversations. And these text messages show regular family dinners, holiday celebrations, birthday parties. Can you explain how your daughter-in-law was isolating your son while facilitating all this contact? Helen can't. Her answers become circular, defensive. When Patricia presents evidence of the trust fund motive, Diane's debts, the strategic timing, the attorney meetings, Helen's credibility crumbles completely. Diane's testimony is worse. She's nervous, stumbling over answers, contradicting herself repeatedly. When Patricia asks about specific incidents in her affidavit, Diane can't provide details. You stated that Maya refused to let Marcus visit you in the hospital last year. Can you tell me what hospital? I don't remember. That's because it never happened. You were never hospitalized last year. In fact, the only hospital visit was the false alarm on their anniversary. Correct. Diane's face goes red. That was real. I had chest pains. Patricia pulls out the hospital discharge records showing Diane left 30 minutes after arrival, against medical advice, with no symptoms or treatment required. This looks less like an emergency and more like a convenient interruption, Ms. Henderson. The jury's expressions tell the whole story. They're not buying what Helen and Diane are selling. After 3 days of testimony, Patricia rested our case. Thornton tries to salvage his client's position, arguing they acted in good faith concern, but the evidence doesn't support it. The verdict comes back unanimous. Defamation proven, damages awarded. The jury grants us $300,000, enough to cover our legal fees, emotional distress, and a punitive component to discourage future harassment. Helen and Diane are devastated. Marcus is conflicted but resolute. The trust hearing follows 2 weeks later. Ms. Chandler formally dismisses the petition, releases the trust funds to Marcus as scheduled, and issues a finding that Helen and Diane acted in bad faith. As a consequence, they're barred from making any future challenges to Marcus's trust share. Additionally, Diane's own share is placed under additional scrutiny regarding the stability of her financial decisions. It's over. We won. But victory feels complicated when it involves your husband's family. Marcus sits with me that evening, staring at the trust account balance. $2 million, he says quietly. All this damage for money. What do you want to do with it? He thinks for a long moment. Set up a college fund for Emma. Donate to marriage counseling services. Maybe help Diane with her debts, on the condition she gets financial counseling. 6 months later, life has found a new normal. Marcus and I are in therapy working through the trust issues, both kinds. Our marriage is stronger for having survived the storm, though the scars remain. Emma's thriving, blissfully unaware of how close her family came to imploding. We see Helen and Diane rarely now. There was a brief, awkward apology from Helen, not for lying but for the misunderstanding. We accepted it civilly but kept our distance. Diane sent a thank you card when Marcus paid off her debts, but we haven't spoken directly. Marcus grieves the family relationships that may never heal, and I support him through that loss. One evening, I'm cooking dinner when Marcus wraps his arms around me from behind. Thank you, he whispers. For fighting. For not giving up on us. I turn to face him. I made a vow 8 years ago. For better or worse. This was definitely worse, but we made it through. He kisses me deeply, and I taste hope and new beginnings. Emma runs in, chattering about her day. We sit down to dinner, our little family, scared but unbroken. They tried to destroy my marriage with lies and manipulation. Instead, I broke their schemes apart and built something stronger than before. Sometimes the best revenge isn't victory. It's survival and the love that endures despite everything.